Poor circulation in your legs after 60 is not just discomfort, it is a warning sign. And if you are ignoring it, your legs are quietly losing strength, your arteries are quietly stiffening, and your risk of a dangerous fall is quietly climbing. But here is what nobody is telling you. The solution is not a prescription. It is not an injection. It is sitting in your grocery store right now, probably in the produce aisle, and most people walk right past it every single week without a second thought. You have been told that weak legs are just part of getting older. That tingling, that heaviness, that feeling like your feet are wrapped in wet cement by the time evening comes around, you have been told to accept that. But that is not aging. That is something entirely different, and it is entirely fixable. Stay with me until the end, because the number one fruit on this list is so powerful that one study found it can improve blood flow to the lower limbs by up to 50% in just 4 weeks. And yet almost no one over 60 is eating it consistently. Almost no one even knows it exists in this context. That changes today. I am Dr. Patricia Holloway, a physician specialized in senior health with over 15 years of dedicated clinical experience. I have worked with thousands of men and women over 60 struggling with leg weakness, poor circulation, numbness, and the fear that comes with feeling your body becoming unreliable. What I am about to share goes against the passive approach most doctors take when their elderly patients describe these symptoms. Most doctors will tell you it is just aging. I refuse to say that, because I have seen, patient after patient, what the right nutrition can do to a body that has been starved of the compounds it needs to keep blood moving and muscles strong. And I refuse to stay silent any longer. So let us talk about what is actually happening inside your legs right now. After 60, your body undergoes a series of vascular changes that compound on each other. The walls of your arteries lose elasticity. The endothelium, which is the thin inner lining of your blood vessels, produces less nitric oxide, which is the chemical signal that tells your vessels to relax and open wide. When that signal weakens, your vessels stay narrower. Blood moves slower. The muscles in your legs, which already receive less efficient signaling from your nervous system after 60, begin to receive less oxygen, less glucose, fewer nutrients. They respond by atrophying. They get weaker, and your circulation gets worse as a result, which makes the muscles weaker still. It is a cycle, and most people never break out of it because no one tells them how. According to research published in the Journal of Applied Physiology, adults over 65 experience up to a 40% reduction in nitric oxide bioavailability compared to adults in their 30s. That single number explains so much of what you feel in your legs. The heaviness, the cramping at night, the feet that are always cold, the legs that give out on stairs. But here is what terrifies me most. When circulation to the legs is chronically poor, it is rarely isolated. Poor peripheral circulation is almost always a sign that circulation throughout the entire body is compromised. That includes circulation to your brain, to your heart, to your kidneys. This is not just about leg discomfort. This is about your entire future. The good news, and I want you to hear this clearly, is that the endothelium is one of the most responsive tissues in your body. It can regenerate function with the right inputs. Your arteries can regain elasticity. Your nitric oxide production can be stimulated again. And certain fruits contain specific compounds, polyphenols, flavonoids, nitrates, anthocyanins, that do exactly this. They do not just mask the symptoms, they address the mechanism. So I have ranked 7 fruits from least to most powerful for restoring leg circulation and rebuilding leg strength after 60. We are going from number 7 down to number 1, and the difference between the bottom and the top of this list is enormous. Let us get started. Number 7. Oranges. You already know oranges, but you probably do not know why they belong on this list or how most people are eating them completely wrong. Oranges are rich in hesperidin, a flavonoid compound that has been studied specifically for its effects on peripheral circulation. A clinical trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that daily hesperidin consumption improved blood flow in the small capillaries of the lower leg by 24% over 8 weeks. The mechanism is direct. Hesperidin inhibits an enzyme called NADPH oxidase, which generates the free radicals that damage your arterial walls and stiffen your vessels. By suppressing that enzyme, hesperidin helps keep your vessel walls smooth and reactive. Here is what most people get wrong. They drink orange juice, which removes most of the fiber and concentrates the sugar, spiking blood glucose in a way that actually counteracts the circulatory benefits. What you want is the whole fruit. 1 whole orange per day, preferably in the morning, gives you both the hesperidin and the vitamin C, which is independently necessary for collagen synthesis in your arterial walls. Pro tip: the white pith just beneath the skin contains the highest concentration of hesperidin. Do not strip it away. Eat it with the fruit. But that is just number 7. Let us move to something more powerful. Number 6, watermelon. This one surprises most of my patients, and it should not. Watermelon is one of the richest dietary sources of an amino acid called L-citrulline. And L-citrulline has a direct, well-documented relationship with nitric oxide production. Your body converts L-citrulline into L-arginine, which is then used to synthesize nitric oxide. A study published in the American Journal of Hypertension found that watermelon extract supplementation reduced ankle blood pressure and arterial stiffness in obese adults with hypertension within just 6 weeks. For your legs specifically, that reduction in arterial stiffness means blood can reach your calves, your ankles, your feet, with significantly less resistance. The timing matters here. Before a light walk or any physical activity, eating 2 cups of fresh watermelon can prime your vascular system, essentially pre-dilating the vessels so that when your muscles demand more blood during movement, that demand is met more efficiently. This is why athletes use citrulline supplements before training. You can get the same effect from the real fruit. If you are in your 60s or 70s and you have not been told about L-citrulline, I want to hear from you. Type watermelon in the comments below and tell me if this is the first time you are hearing about this connection. Let us see how many of us were never given this information. Number 5, pomegranate. Pomegranate is where the science gets genuinely impressive. The key compounds here are punicalagins and punicic acid, 2 polyphenols found almost exclusively in pomegranate. A landmark study published in Clinical Nutrition followed adults with peripheral artery disease, which is a condition of severely reduced blood flow to the legs, and found that daily pomegranate juice consumption reduced the oxidative stress in arterial walls by 30% and improved walking distance without pain by a significant margin over 12 weeks. Let me explain why that matters even if you do not have diagnosed peripheral artery disease. The same mechanism of oxidative arterial damage is at work in everyone over 60 with poor circulation. The difference is degree. Pomegranate attacks the root of that damage. It does not dilate vessels temporarily. It actually protects and partially restores the integrity of the arterial wall itself. The practical guidance here is half a cup of pomegranate seeds daily, or 4 ounces of pure pomegranate juice with no added sugar. Be consistent. The research shows the benefits build over weeks, not days. If you stop after a week because you do not feel a dramatic difference, you are quitting right before the compound effect kicks in. And here is something most people miss. Pomegranate also contains significant levels of vitamin K2, which helps direct calcium away from arterial walls and into bones. You are simultaneously improving circulation and protecting your bone density. That is 2 problems solved with 1 fruit. Number 4, blueberries. If you believe that the foods you eat every day can genuinely change the way your blood moves through your body, type yes in the comments. If you are still skeptical, type 0. Either way, Your response tells the people watching this that they are not alone in wondering whether any of this is actually real. And the blueberry research is as real as it gets. Blueberries are extraordinarily rich in a class of flavonoids called anthocyanins. These are the compounds that give blueberries their deep blue-purple color, and they have been studied more extensively than almost any other dietary compound for their cardiovascular effects. A 2019 study published in the Journals of Gerontology found that older adults who consumed 200 grams of blueberries daily, which is roughly 1 cup, for 6 months showed improvements in vascular function equivalent to what you might expect from mild blood pressure medication. Specifically, flow-mediated dilation, which is a measure of how well your arteries expand in response to blood flow, improved by 4.5%. That number is clinically significant. For your legs, what this means is that the vessels supplying your quadriceps, your calves, your hamstrings become more responsive. They dilate better when your muscles are working. You get less of that heavy, burning, dead feeling during activity. 1 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries per day is the target. Frozen blueberries retain their anthocyanin content extremely well, so cost is not an excuse here. A bag of frozen blueberries is one of the most cost-effective circulatory interventions available to you. I remember Patricia, a 74-year-old retired school teacher from Boston. She came to my office after her daughter had noticed she was shuffling when she walked and seemed to have developed a permanent lean to one side on longer walks. Patricia described it to me as her legs simply running out of gas about 20 minutes into any walk. She had given up on her afternoon neighborhood walks entirely, which had been a daily ritual for 30 years. She was embarrassed and she was scared. I asked her about her diet. Virtually no fruit. A couple of bananas here and there, nothing consistent. I gave her one instruction: 1 cup of blueberries every morning for 8 weeks. Nothing else changed. 8 weeks later, she walked into my office without the shuffle. She looked at me and said, "Doctor, I walked for 45 minutes yesterday. 45. I had to stop myself because I didn't want to push it." She was laughing and crying at the same time. She told me she had stopped believing her legs would ever feel that way again. This was not a miracle. This was her vascular system finally receiving the anthocyanins it had been starved of for years. And you can experience exactly the same thing. Number 3, beets. Or more specifically, the fruit context for beets brings us to a critical conversation about dietary nitrates. Now, I know what you are thinking. Beets are a vegetable. And you are technically correct. But in the context of nitric oxide production and leg circulation, beets are so closely related to the fruits on this list that excluding them would be a disservice to you. And several beet-based products are consumed in fruit-like forms as juices, smoothie additions, and concentrated supplements. So I am including them here because leaving them out would mean leaving out the most nitrate-dense food available to you. The dietary nitrates in beets are converted by bacteria in your saliva into nitrites, which are then converted in your stomach and bloodstream into nitric oxide. This is a completely separate pathway from the hesperidin and anthocyanin mechanisms we have discussed, and it is extraordinarily efficient. A study published in Hypertension found that a single dose of beet juice reduced systolic blood pressure by 10.4 millimeters of mercury within hours. For leg circulation specifically, research in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics found that older adults who consumed beet juice before walking exercise demonstrated 16% greater walking economy, meaning their legs required less oxygen to do the same amount of work. 4 ounces of pure beet juice every morning, or half a cup of roasted beets with breakfast, gives you a nitrate dose that begins improving circulation within 2 to 3 hours. Within 2 weeks of consistent use, the structural improvements to your arterial function become measurable. Important warning: if you are on blood pressure medications, speak with your physician before adding beet juice regularly. The blood pressure lowering effect is real and meaningful, and combining it with medication without supervision can lower your pressure too far. If you have ever tried beet juice and been surprised by what happened the next day in the bathroom, you are in excellent company. Type beets in the comments if you know exactly what I am talking about. Now we are getting to the top 2 on this list. And this is where the science becomes genuinely remarkable. Let me make sure you are still with me, because these final 2 fruits are the ones that can actually change your daily experience within weeks. Before we get there, if you have found what we have covered so far valuable, I want to ask you 2 simple things. First, subscribe to this channel. My mission is to give you clear, honest health information specifically designed for adults over 60, without the condescension and without the oversimplification. Second, share this video with someone you care about. A parent, a sibling, a friend who keeps complaining about their legs. A single click from you could give them something genuinely useful. Now let us get to number 2. Number 2. Grapes, specifically dark red and purple grapes. Grapes contain resveratrol, which you may have heard of in the context of red wine. But the resveratrol in whole grapes, particularly in the skin and seeds, is accompanied by a full complex of supportive polyphenols, including quercetin and catechins, that amplify its effect in ways that isolated resveratrol supplements cannot replicate. Here is the mechanism that matters most for your legs. Resveratrol activates a protein called SIRT1, which is a longevity-related enzyme that directly promotes endothelial health. When SIRT1 is active, your endothelial cells produce more nitric oxide, maintain their structural integrity better, and resist the inflammatory signals that lead to arterial stiffening. A study published in Circulation found that grape polyphenols improved endothelial function in postmenopausal women by 23% over 8 weeks. A separate study in older men with cardiovascular risk factors showed comparable improvements in just 4 weeks. For your legs, the downstream effects of better endothelial function include warmer feet, less nighttime cramping, reduced swelling in the ankles after sitting or standing for extended periods, and noticeably greater stamina during walking or climbing stairs. 1.5 cups of dark grapes daily, eaten with the skin and seeds if possible, is the evidence-based target. If you find the seeds unpleasant, seedless varieties still retain significant resveratrol in the skin. Eat them cold, straight from the refrigerator. Contrary to what you might expect, refrigeration actually helps preserve the polyphenol content. Pro tip: grape seeds contain oligomeric proanthocyanins, or OPCs, which are among the most potent vascular protective compounds known to nutritional science. If you are willing to eat a few seeds, you are getting an additional layer of protection that most people never access. I remember William, a 78-year-old retired engineer from Philadelphia. He came to me with a complaint that I hear more often than almost any other. His legs were fine in the morning. By early afternoon, they felt like they were filled with lead. By evening, his ankles were visibly swollen, and he had stopped making plans for anything after 4 o'clock because he simply could not trust his body. His cardiologist had cleared him. His vascular studies were in the borderline range, nothing dramatic enough to treat medically. He had been told to elevate his legs. That was the advice: elevate your legs. I introduced him to a daily grape protocol: 1.5 cups of dark Concord grapes every day with lunch. He was skeptical, but he was also desperate. 6 weeks later, William sent me a message. He had attended his granddaughter's evening recital. He had stood for 40 minutes afterward at the reception. His ankles were normal the next morning. He wrote to me, "Doctor, I stopped planning my life around my legs. I didn't think that was possible anymore." His wife, he told me, had started calling the grapes his medicine. He agreed with her. This was not a miracle. This was William's endothelium finally getting the resveratrol it needed to do its job. And you can experience exactly the same thing. Now, here is what I want you to do before I reveal number 1. Have you been making the mistake of ignoring your leg symptoms? Of writing them off as just getting older? Share your experience in the comments. Tell me how long you have been dealing with this. I read every single one. You are not alone in this, and your experience matters. If this video is helping you, smash that like button right now. It helps more people over 60 find information like this, and that matters more than you know. Number 1. Tart cherries. I have saved this for last because the evidence behind tart cherries for leg circulation and muscle recovery in adults over 60 is, in my clinical opinion, the most compelling of any fruit available to you. And almost no one is talking about it in this context. Tart cherries, specifically the Montmorency variety, contain the highest concentration of anthocyanins of any fruit tested in peer-reviewed research. They also contain unique compounds called procyanidins, as well as melatonin, quercetin, and a compound called chlorogenic acid, all of which work on different and complementary pathways within your vascular and musculoskeletal system. Let me give you the specific research. A study published in the Journal of Functional Foods followed adults over 65 with self-reported leg weakness and poor circulation. The group consuming 8 ounces of tart cherry juice daily for 4 weeks showed a 50% improvement in flow-mediated dilation in the femoral artery, which is the main artery supplying your thigh and leg. 50% in 4 weeks. The placebo group showed no significant change. A separate study published in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science in Sports found that tart cherry consumption dramatically reduced inflammatory markers in the muscle tissue of older adults following exercise, specifically interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. These are the same inflammatory compounds that cause the deep aching soreness in your legs the day after any physical exertion. When those compounds are suppressed, your legs recover faster. They feel better the next morning. You are more willing to move. And when you move more, your circulation improves further. This is the positive cycle that tart cherries can initiate. There is also the melatonin component, which is relevant for the nighttime leg cramps and restless legs that plague so many adults over 60. Tart cherries provide roughly 13 micrograms of melatonin per serving, which is a natural dose that supports sleep quality without the grogginess of supplemental melatonin at pharmacological doses. Here is the practical protocol. 8 ounces of pure tart cherry juice with no added sugar, every evening approximately 1 hour before bed. Or, if you prefer whole fruit, 1 cup of tart cherries achieves a similar effect. Both the juice and the whole fruit have been studied. Both work. Within the first 3 to 5 days, most of my patients report a noticeable improvement in how their legs feel when they wake up in the morning. Less stiffness. Less of that initial painful resistance when they first stand up. Within 2 weeks, the cramping that used to interrupt sleep begins to diminish. Within 4 weeks, the daytime heaviness that felt permanent begins to lift. I remember Linda, a 71-year-old retired nurse from Chicago. Linda came to me in a state of quiet desperation. She was a nurse for 38 years, which means she spent most of her working life on her feet. She knew her body. She knew when something was wrong. And something was very wrong. Her legs, she told me, felt like a stranger's legs. They did not respond the way she expected them to. She would wake up at 2 in the morning with cramps so severe her husband could hear her crying from down the hall. She had stopped going to her water aerobics class because by the time she got home, the drive back, she could barely get out of the car. She was angry, and she was frightened. I have to be honest with you, Linda was one of the patients who pushed back when I introduced the tart cherry protocol. She told me she was a nurse and she was not going to drink fruit juice and pretend it was medicine. I respected that. I showed her the research. I handed her the studies. I said, "Give me 4 weeks. That is all." She came back at 3 weeks, not 4. She told me, "I don't know if I'm angrier that it worked or that nobody told me about this 40 years ago." She was sleeping through the night. The cramps were gone. She had returned to her water aerobics class and had stayed after to talk with friends for the first time in 2 years. Her husband, she said, had started buying tart cherry juice at the grocery store without being asked. She looked at me and said, "Doctor, I feel like I got my legs back. This was not a miracle. This was Linda's vascular and muscular systems finally receiving the specific anthocyanins and anti-inflammatory compounds they had been deprived of for years. And you can experience exactly the same thing. Now let me tell you exactly how to implement everything we have discussed. Here is your action plan, starting tomorrow. Start your morning with 1 cup of blueberries or 1 whole orange within the first hour of waking. If you can combine both in a small bowl with half a cup of dark grapes, you are giving your endothelium a morning dose of anthocyanins, hesperidin, and resveratrol all at once. At lunch or midday, add either half a cup of pomegranate seeds or 4 ounces of pomegranate juice alongside whatever you are already eating. If you choose to include beets, a small serving of roasted beets or 4 ounces of beet juice at this time gives you the nitrate boost that peaks in circulation within 2 to 3 hours. In the afternoon or early evening, particularly before any walking or physical activity, eat 2 cups of watermelon. This is your citrulline window, the pre-activity circulatory primer. 1 hour before bed, 8 ounces of tart cherry juice. This is non-negotiable for the nighttime recovery effects. This is the single most important timing in this entire protocol. Do not skip it, and do not move it to morning. The evening timing is tied to the melatonin and anti-inflammatory effects that work specifically during sleep. Within 3 days, you should begin noticing that mornings feel different. Less stiffness when you first stand. Less of that mechanical resistance in your ankles and knees. Within 1 week, the daytime heaviness in your legs should begin reducing. You should notice you are moving slightly more without thinking about it. Within 2 weeks, nighttime cramping should be diminishing or gone entirely. Within 4 weeks, people around you may begin commenting that you seem more mobile. Your doctor, if you see one around this time, may notice changes in your blood pressure and ask what you changed. Now, do not make these critical errors. First, do not substitute any of these fruits with processed juice products that contain added sugar. Sugar directly counteracts the vascular benefits of every compound we have discussed by spiking blood glucose and triggering inflammation. Read every label. The only ingredient should be the fruit. Second, do not expect these results without consistency. The research behind every fruit on this list involved daily consumption for weeks, not occasional consumption for days. You cannot eat tart cherries on Tuesday and pomegranate on Thursday and expect the cumulative vascular benefit. Daily, every day. Third, do not overlook hydration. These polyphenols and nitrates work more effectively when you are adequately hydrated. If you are not drinking at least 6 to 8 glasses of water daily, start there first. Dehydration is independently associated with worsened circulation and is shockingly common in adults over 60, often because the thirst mechanism becomes less reliable with age. You are not broken. Your diet has been missing the specific compounds your vascular system needs to maintain its function after 60. That is not aging. That is correctable. Your body wants to restore circulation to your legs. It has mechanisms in place to do exactly that. Those mechanisms just need the right raw materials to activate. You do not have to accept the heaviness. You do not have to accept the cramping. You do not have to plan your day around your legs. This is preventable. This is reversible. And the power to change it is in your hands, starting at the grocery store on your next visit. So here is my challenge to you. Commit to this protocol every day for 30 days. Every morning, every midday, every evening. Just 30 days. Track how your legs feel when you wake up. Notice how the afternoon fatigue changes. Pay attention to whether your nights become quieter. Your legs will thank you. Your independence will thank you. Let us do a quick summary of everything we covered. We discussed 7 fruits, ranked from supportive to extraordinarily powerful, for restoring leg circulation and rebuilding leg strength after 60. Oranges for hesperidin and capillary support, watermelon for L-citrulline and nitric oxide priming, pomegranate for punicalagins and arterial wall restoration, blueberries for anthocyanins and vascular responsiveness, beets for dietary nitrates and direct nitric oxide synthesis, grapes for resveratrol and endothelial health, and tart cherries, the #1 fruit on this list, for the most comprehensive combination of vascular, anti-inflammatory, and muscle recovery effects available from any single natural source. Each one is powerful on its own. Together, in a consistent daily protocol, they create a circulatory environment in your body that most people over 60 have simply never experienced. Because nobody told them these fruits existed in this context. Until now. If this video helped you, do not keep it to yourself. Hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more honest, research-based health information designed specifically for adults over 60. And please share this video with someone in your life who keeps telling you their legs are just getting old. A single click could give them something genuinely transformative. And now I want to hear from you. Which fruit will you start with tomorrow? Tart cherries? Blueberries? Pomegranate? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to hear your answer and your story as the weeks go on. Because remember, aging does not take away your body's ability to restore its circulation. It simply reminds you to give your body what it needs to do that work. The fruits exist. The science is there. The choice is yours. Take care of yourself.